Missing Indigenous Women and Girls makes its preliminary visit in Saskatchewan this week. There are divided opinions on whether or not the inquiry should continue in its current form. Dozens of families, experts, and academics sent a letter to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau this week calling for a complete reset of the whole inquiry. But as CBC's Charles Hamilton says, he spoke to one local advocate today who says she wants the inquiry to move ahead the way it is.
So I'm here with Darlene Okamesa-Secott. She's a longtime advocate for missing and murdered Indigenous women, and she is in favor of the inquiry, and we're here to ask her why. So that's my first question for you, is why are you in favor of this inquiry the way it's structured, given all these calls for resignations and reform?
Probably because I've started with our women's group in Saskatoon. We've been doing this for 12 years, and we know how slow that process was, and it takes some time to convince the public that this issue should be paid attention to. And the inquiry, what it can do for the families is to bring some justice, change policing and searching habits, also to maybe change some legislation that Senator Dick put forward to change what happens with violence against Indigenous women and girls, and also to improve the search techniques, maybe plan a commemoration in each province where people are identified as have been missing. We hear that from families all the time, and in addition, I'd like to see the family information liaison units stay intact after the inquiry. They're all set up in each province. Lastly, probably a national missing center for missing and murdered Aboriginal women and girls, because I think there's still going to be a lot of work to do after the inquiry. So I think it's really necessary to help the public feel safe, that Indigenous women are valued, and that the country is really serious about this inquiry.
And so the inquiry is on the ground. There are staff members on the ground today and for tomorrow as well, talking to family members. What are you hoping this initial process will be like as you look forward to the actual hearing, which will take place later this fall in November?
Basically, it's to start that relationship of trust between the inquiry staff, the community liaison members that are across the country. They're broken up into 2 provinces each, and basically it's to assess families, take their personal information, start a file going, have an intake process with a lawyer, and then start working on healing and health supports that will help them during the process, even up to the point where if they decide not to do a hearing and they change their mind, that health services are still intact for them leading up to that process. So that part of the community engagement visits, they're basically to start building that relationship and to build that trust leading up to the hearings.
And so, I mean, there's been a lot of resignations here. We just had one yesterday. But do you think that this process will survive? Do you think that people like you, that there's enough resiliency in the people who are in favor of this, that this inquiry will go forward in the way that it was intended, and that it will survive all this, these resignations and the mounting criticism?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I believe so. When you think about the number of staff that are already on board, and we've been watching the website, seeing who's being added, who's being replaced, and who's really committed. And we see predominantly the 60+ staff. Probably 95% of them are staying because they really want to do this work. They want to contribute to this process. And I'm not discouraged by people that want to leave. If they've come as far as they could, that's the best we can do for them. We wish them well. We know people will take their place because they're watching it unfold. They want to be part of the solution. And the families eternally will not stop. They will continue to build up and support the commissioners and all of their team.
Thank you so much, Darlene.
You're welcome.